Okay, here we are, quick summary of the Unit 3, Real Estate License Law and Commission Rules. Okay, once again, here we are, Unit 3, Real Estate License Law and Commission Rules, quick summary. In this chapter, we're talking about the Department of Business and Professional Regulations, DBPR, and they are given the authority to operate under the executive branch rules on Florida Statute 20. The Chief Administrator of DBPR is the Secretary and appointed by the government, confirmed by the State Senate. This allows them to regulate businesses and professionals and give licenses to those folks. They're granted legal powers by the legislator to investigate complaints, issue subpoenas, issue and cease and desist orders for unlicensed people performing real estate, issue citations. Here's an example of some of the jobs which require a DBPR license and businesses. You'll see I've highlighted the real estate related ones in red, quite a few there. DBPR is located in Tallahassee. It also consists of the Division of Professions that looks after the education, exams of all the professionals. They employ peers and viewers of private testing service, and they regulate the schools. And we just threw in there, schools must keep records for 2 years. There's also the Division of Service Operations. They take all the phone calls, letters, inquiries, application fees and renewals. There's also a Division of Florida Condominiums, Timeshares and Mobile Homes. They also look after the cooperatives. And there's a Division of Real Estate that provide the ministerial duties to the FREC to help them do administer the law and so forth. The Division Director is appointed by DBPR Secretary and confirmed by the Commissioners. They are employees of DBPR and they provide the services needed to administer the law, and they are located, along with FREC, in Orlando. The Florida Real Estate Commission, regulatory body charged by the Florida legislature to protect the public, regulate real estate brokers, broker associates, sales associates, brokerage firms, and real estate schools and instructors, and to help foster the education of licensees. They're appointed by the governor, confirmed by the state senate, and has to have 4 brokers, and each one of them has to have an active broker's license for each 5 years. One must be a licensed broker or sales associate who has been active for 2 years, and 2 consumer members must never have been licensed, and one must be older than 60 or older to represent the elderly population. And members are exempt from civil liability. Here's a little picture from the book. You can see we have 4 active brokers, 5 years. We have 1 active sales associate or broker, 2 years, and we have 2 consumer members never been licensed. FREC is appointed by 4-year terms by the governor, confirmed by the Senate. They are allowed no more than 2 consecutive terms, so that means 4 + 4, 8, and they are accountable to the governor. They don't get a salary, but they do get $50 a day plus expenses for each day on official business, and they hold monthly meetings in Orlando. Out of the 7, 4 must attend for the meeting to go ahead, and they must have a quorum. Legal counsel is provided by an Assistant Attorney General to FREC. They have 3 powers, general powers, and that is the executive power, which is allowed to regulate, enforce license law, foster education, adopt a seal, that means they can issue a license, and also establish fees. They have quasi-legislative, quasi meaning only to do with real estate rules and regulations, and they can create and pass rules and regulations, and they can regulate the professional practices. And in quasi-judicial, that means they may act like a judge, only on real estate matters once again. They can grant or deny applications, suspend or revoke licenses, and issue citations and administrative fines, make determinations of violations, and report you to the divisions of condominiums and timeshares. They do not have the power to enforce jail time on you, and they cannot enforce that you pay damages to a third party. That has to be done by a judge. Your license lasts for 2 years, but your first license will depend on when you actually were initially issued a license, because it will either expire on March the 31st or September the 30th. At no time must it exceed 24 months. You must renew prior to the expiration date. FREC will notify you, DBPR will notify you in advance, about 90 days, by mail or email or both. You have to show that you have done your post-licensing education or your continuing education before you get your license renewed, and you will be charged a late fee after expiration date, $25 up to 1 year and $50 up to second year. If you do not renew it after your second year, then you will lose your license. Unlicensed practice of real estate following expiration of license. If you allow your license to expire and you're still operating, then that is a third-degree felony. For example, the license was issued on July the 15th, 2015. If we allow that license to last for 2 years, then the expiration date would be July the 25th, 2015. The problem is I can only renew my license in March or September. If I wait until September, then I'll have had my license for more than 2 years and that won't be allowed. So I have to backdate it to March, and that will be my first renewal date, and thereafter every 2 years from then on, March the 31st. If you are in the armed forces, you are exempt your renewal. Licensee in good standing who is a member of the armed forces is exempt from renewal requirements during active duty and for 2 years after discharge from active duty, provided they do not act as a real estate agent. If the military duty is out of state, then exemption also applies to a licensed spouse if she has or he has a license. There is a difference between an active and inactive status of a license. An active license is required to perform services of a real estate for compensation. I'll just give a quick definition of what an active license is. An active license is one that you have registered under a broker or an owner-developer. If you're not registered as a sales associate to work under one of these, then your license will be inactive. You can choose to be voluntary inactive. That means I do not wish to register under a broker or an owner-developer. I just choose not to have or do any real estate activities, but I do wish to keep my license current. You let DBPR know that you wish your license to be inactive, and it will stay like that. You still have to do the post-license education and the 14-hour continuing education and put in your application every 2 years and pay the fees. And this can go on for as long as you like. But if you want to start practicing in real estate, you become active by registering with a broker or owner-developer. There are involuntary active status cases as well. For instance, if you fail to renew your license before the expiry date, your license will become involuntary inactive. And then after 2 years, involuntary active license becomes null and void. Involuntary active status, for instance, after 12 months, if you wish to activate it, you have to complete a 14-hour continuing education course. If you want to renew it between 12 but less than 24 months, then you have to do a 28-hour commission-prescribed reactivation education course. After 2 years, it becomes null and void. You have to sit the course again. If the broker under which you're working license becomes suspended or revoked, then your license itself will become involuntary inactive because you now no longer have a broker to work under. Then associates may become active again by finding a new broker or change to voluntary inactive. When the license expires after 2 years, it becomes null and void. A license that is null and void no longer exists. So the license has been involuntarily active for more than 2 years will become null and void, or if it has been revoked, or failure to complete post-licensing education after the initial time you get your license. Voluntary, relinquish or cancel that does not involve disciplinary action will null and void your license. Cease to be enforced. Licensee cannot conduct business whilst the license is not currently up to date with DBPR. The 4 situations may be the broker has changed business address, or the real estate school has changed address, or the sales associate changes employer, or the instructor changes employer. During this time, DBPR has to be notified of these changes within 10 days, and during that time, before they get notification, your license will be said to be cease to be enforced. It is your obligation, as well as the school and the brokerage, to keep your current mailing address current with DBPR. You have 10 days to change your mailing address. It can be a PO box. All changes of mailing addresses are always 10 days. And you can do it online or send them a fax or a letter. and you'll be fined $500 if you fail to do it within 10 days. If you want to check on anybody's license, then you can always go to the online portal, which is myfloridalicense.com. You can check on anybody's license there and its current status. Brokers usually check those licenses when they're paying out a referral fee to another broker to make sure that broker is current, and to verify that you have a license before they employ you, and to see if there's any disciplinary action in the past being taken against you. We refer to a license as having primary and secondary status. Primary is whether your license is current or expired or on probation or suspended, and secondary is if your license is active with a brokerage or an owner developer. And here's an example of the My Florida license database. Just looking at these folks here, I can see the top one is null and void in 1995. The next one down is current. That means the license is current, it hasn't expired, and they are actively licensed with a broker or registered with a broker. Here's one here which is involuntary inactive and inactive. That means although the license hasn't run out yet, or according to this it hasn't, they are involuntary inactive and inactive because they either chose to have that or they are working for a broker that is no longer active. Multiple licenses. Multiple licenses are issued to a broker who qualifies as a broker for more than one business entity. For each business that a person is a broker, a separate broker license must be obtained. Each license must be used as a broker, not as a broker associate, and discipline on one license will affect all licenses. Here's an example. This lady here wishes to run ABC Realty as a broker of record, also XYZ Realty as a broker of record. So she will actually hold two different licenses with different numbers, and they will be registered to her, but for different brokerages. A group license, a little bit different, is issued to sales associates and broker associates who register under an owner developer. The owner developer will send DBPR a list of its legal company names, and the sales associate or the broker associate has just one license and one employer. Here's an example. There's one business entity owns a lot of subdivisions. So maybe the DBPR knows that this agent is working for subdivision 1 and is owned by the same holding company, but now and registered under that, but now they open up a second subdivision and they want that same sales associate to work there. They will then register that sales associate to work under subdivision 2. This is regarding as the associate has a group license. It's not issued with a group license, it's just a form of registration. And that's all we have for Unit 3. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.